Hello and welcome to today's Dux-Soup webinar. I'm Adam Osman, the Head of Marketing at Dux-Soup. With me today is Giles Garnett, who heads up our professional services team at Dux-Soup. Just some very quick housekeeping points before we start. So this is a business-focused webinar looking at how you can combine Sales Navigator with Dux-Soup. So it's not a pure detailed tech session. Everyone is on mute, but if you have questions, just pop them in the question box, which is in the GoToWebinar panel, and we'll answer as many of these as we can on the go. Any that we can't answer during the session, I'll put to Giles at the end in a Q&A session. We always get asked, will a recording be available? So this typically takes up to 5-6 hours and will be sent out automatically after the webinar. So just onto our speaker, if you haven't spoken to or seen Giles present before, Giles is a highly experienced trainer, coach, presenter. I think I mentioned he heads up our professional services team at Dux-Soup. So a bit of trivia for you. I always like to introduce everyone with a fun fact. Although I've known Giles nearly 4 years, can you believe that, Giles? 4 years? We only met in person for the very first time just before Christmas. I know from the feedback we have on our other webinars, Giles's presentations always contain a wealth of practical information that you can start using and adopting today. And the goal is to help make your lead generation more productive, more efficient, and hopefully help you to deliver more results. So with that build up, over to you, Giles.
Thanks, Adam. That's awesome. Yeah, it was really good to meet you at last after having only met you virtually, of course, up until till Christmas. So now it was great to meet you in person earlier this year, or around the turn of the year. Hello and good morning and good afternoon or good evening to you wherever you may be in the world. And yeah, as Adam's already said, yeah, welcome to the latest in our series of Dux-Soup webinars. And my name is Giles, and thanks to Adam there. Today we're going to look at how you can maximize your LinkedIn lead generation activities by harnessing the power of both Dux-Soup with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. The webinar is therefore targeted to all Dux-Soup users, so that's both new users to pro users to turbo subscribers. So there's a little bit of everything in there for everybody, hopefully. It's going to be a mix of slides. We'll get the slides out of the way early on, and then we'll go into sort of some walkthrough demos. And as Adam mentioned, yeah, put your questions into the question box. There's an email address here on the screen which you can see, which is our support team. So if you've got questions over and above what you hear in the webinar, perhaps, then you can always reach out to that email address that you see on the screen there. And without further ado, let's crack on and let's see what we're going to cover today. So the topics we're going to cover today, we're going to just do a very brief what is Dux-Soup. We're going to talk about why you might want to use Sales Navigator if you don't already. We're going to look at the carrying out a search in Sales Navigator. It's a little bit different to how you do that in regular LinkedIn. There's some extra facilities there in Sales Navigator, more capabilities, of course. We're going to talk about InMails. I'm not going to go into massive details around InMails, but I'm going to at least give you some ideas as to how you can harness those. We're going to talk about campaigns if you've got Turbo, because we've made some changes to the campaign features over the last 10 days or so. We'll mention about tags, and we'll talk about data as well, the sort of data that you can get out of LinkedIn if you're using Dux-Soup. So that's kind of a high level of what we're gonna cover today. Yeah, keep those questions coming in, and we'll cover them as well at the end. So first of all, as always, what is Dux-Soup? In case there's anybody new on the call who isn't aware of what Dux-Soup is, it's a Chrome extension. So you install it from the Chrome Web Store, and it's also compatible with other Chrome-based browsers, and you use it to mimic human behavior on the LinkedIn platform. And it can be on the free version, that's regular LinkedIn Sales Navigator, as I'll show you today, or indeed Recruiter. Basically, you define the list of data that you want Dux-Soup to process against. You get a list of prospects or targets, and then you choose your actions in Dux-Soup as to what actions you want to be carried out against that list. And it's really important to remember that there's a human behavior aspect to Dux-Soup. So it's programmed to make it look like there's the actual clicks of the mouse there on the screen, and that's a very important point from the perspective of keeping your LinkedIn account safe. There are two paid versions, as I mentioned just now. There's Pro and Turbo. You can look at all the details on our website. And if you've not used Dux-Soup before, You can go to the Chrome Web Store, you can install it, and you get a free 14-day trial of the Turbo version to have a play with the version with all the bells and whistles to see if it's something that's going to meet your requirements. So let's crack on with the rest of stuff. So why Sales Navigator, and what is Sales Navigator, and why would you want to use it? Remember, LinkedIn is like this enormous resource. It's got over, I think it's 875 million users on the LinkedIn platform, with and there's some stats I was looking at earlier this week. 16% use it every working day. So that's over 130 million people being active on the platform every single day that you're in the office. And Sales Nav is a premium platform, so yeah, of course you pay extra for that facility. It's a premium offered by LinkedIn, and that gives you the advanced features and capabilities. It's basically designed to help sales professionals to find, engage, and build relationships with potential customers and clients. It's got increased or enhanced search facilities. There's InMail capabilities. You can build lead lists and even have them auto-generated based upon some defined personas that you can create in the platform. There are also, if you go beyond the regular, the normal single user Sales Navigator product, there are also then team collaboration possibilities within Sales Navigator as well. One of the things to consider if you're wondering whether or not to go down the route of using Sales Navigator, it's to consider about how busy you are on LinkedIn. Now, if you're running just a free LinkedIn account, you will absolutely eventually come up against a limit in either how many profiles you can view per month, or how many searches you can carry out, or indeed how many connection requests you can send out per week. Now, if you've got a paid account, the numbers of what you can do and all of these aspects are always higher. You may well still hit a buffer when you're sending out a lot of connection requests, depending on how successful you are, but you will find you'll be able to carry out virtually unlimited searches and virtually unlimited profile views if you have a paid account. So Sales Navigator is definitely a way to unlock that potential and really help sort of turbocharge your lead generation activities on LinkedIn. So taking all that into consideration, one of the main things that you see in Sales Navigator is the interface. It's different to regular LinkedIn, and the most obvious thing that we notice therefore, of course, is the Sales Navigator searches. And we will do a demo of this. I'm just going to get through the slides first, and then we'll take the demo step by step. So a Sales Navigator search result shows you a lot more results than a regular LinkedIn search result. So if you do a search in regular LinkedIn, you only get 10 results per page and 100 pages. So you get 1,000 to get the first 1,000 people of your search results. Sales Navigator, you get 25 results on a page. So you get a much bigger pool of results straight away. You've got all sorts of other search criteria, which we'll go through in a minute. You can use the Boolean search terms in your keyword search. And always, the more targeted that your search result is, the greater your chance of success. There are a couple of tips as well I'll give you during the demo, but there's also the possibility to, for example, filter out people you've already contacted. So if maybe your search result is 5,000 people, and you run through that once and you reach out, over time to the first 2,000 people or whatever it is, you can make sure you tick that box to say, yep, remove anybody I've already contacted. So then you see the new results further down the line, and you can't do that in regular LinkedIn. So that's something to be very, very aware of. Another one, which is something that a lot of people either aren't aware of or forget about, is that you can do a group search in Sales Navigator without having to be a member of it, but I'll show you that as well in the demo. So make use of all those search possibilities, and then if you want to, you can also make use of the lead list. So you can save results into a lead list and then run your Dux-Soup from either your search result, if it's a good quality one, or if you're wanting to be more bespoke and build up a lead list, you can then do that in Sales Navigator, sort of growing those lead lists with control. You do that under control rather than being beholden to the LinkedIn algorithm as to how it presents you the results. So those are some of the things that we're going to look at in the search criteria under Sales Navigator. Remember, we're just trying to create good quality lists of data here for Dux-Soup to then take further. InMails. So InMails with Sales Navigator, if you're not aware of what InMails are, then we've got lots of information on our website. We've got some blog posts and previous webinars we've done on that as well. But InMails are basically credits that you get in your Sales Navigator account from LinkedIn. So this is a LinkedIn, they're LinkedIn credits, as it were, the InMail credits. You get those credits, and that allows you to reach out to people outside your network with a more extensive message over and above sort of like a traditional connection request. So both with Dux-Soup Pro and Dux-Soup Turbo, you can really unlock more outreach possibilities using the InMail functions in Sales Navigator, because we can automate an InMail message. We can also, because of the way that Dux-Soup works, we can also harness some extra power. So you get 50 credits per month of InMails. However, there's a population in LinkedIn who allow you to send them an InMail without it costing you one of those credits. So we call them open link profiles. And Dux-Soup can identify who's got an open link profile, and you can target only those people. So you can go over and above your 50 credits with quite possibly several hundred extra messages per month. And that's both Pro and Turbo, you can do that. As well as that, about 10 days ago, with the latest version of Dux-Soup, which hopefully you also received some update emails about in the last few hours, the campaigns in Turbo have been updated. So you can now include an InMail in your campaign outreach as well. And I'll show you how that works as well. We've really extended the possibilities in the campaign side of things on Dux-Soup there. So the InMails is something that we'll also spend some time looking at during the demo, because it's a really powerful thing. We did the InMail, the 5 InMail tricks, which are getting great results. We did a webinar about that in May last year, and we still get people referring back to it and saying what a great eye-opener that was for them, and how much it's increased their lead generation results on LinkedIn. We'll go into campaigns a little bit as well, and I'll show you how to enroll prospects. This is for Turbo, Dux-Soup Turbo users, remember. So if you're a Turbo user, you have the campaign functionality available within the Dux-Soup tool. So I'll show you how to enroll a prospect directly from your Sales Navigator list, whether that's a search result or a lead list. And it can show you then all the different list of actions that are now available in the campaigns, and how the new scheduling configuration works. We've adapted that and we've updated it, and it's now a little bit more, should we say, intuitive, I think, compared to how it used to be. Basically, each step is scheduled based upon the completion of the previous step. So there's a little bit of a change there. So we'll go through that shortly as well. We'll do a brief summary of what tagging is, because with Dux-Soup you can tag profiles, effectively giving them labels. And yeah, those labels allow you to sort of, control your profiles, the list of prospects that you've identified. So for example, you can enroll prospects into a campaign and put a tag against them. You can also tag them with other things during an auto visit. So for example, if you're sending an InMail out to a population, you could tag them all with an InMail label, so you can find that list again, and then you can find them all through the tag search tool in Dux-Soup. Even with Turbo, we've even got an edit function there with regards to tags as well. And then finally, we're going to talk about a little bit of the data stuff, because you can gather data from LinkedIn using Dux-Soup. So you can scan lists and gather URLs and that sort of stuff, name, company, etc., etc. How you can download that data, and you can also gather data from the visits that Dux-Soup carries out on your behalf. If we've got time as well, we'll probably touch on CRMs and other platforms that you can integrate with via the API if you're a Turbo user. So that's what we're going to cover in the demo section. So it's quite a long list, so I think we better crack on. So let me just click away from there, and we'll go to LinkedIn now. I'm in regular LinkedIn here at the moment, so just in case anybody's new to these webinars, I open invite. Please do send me a connection request on LinkedIn. Happy to engage with any Dux-Soup users. Mention Dux-Soup in your connection request message, because then I know how you found me. Always happy to engage with Dux-Soup users on the platform, or often exchange useful, interesting ideas and stuff like that. So feel free to ping me a connection request. But let's go straight to Sales Navigator. Let's not spend too much time in regular LinkedIn today, because we do that quite often. So here we are. This is the Sales Navigator platform, if you're not familiar with it. And if you're in Sales Navigator and you're wanting to carry out a search in Sales Navigator, the first thing, of course, you do is you go to your lead filters here. And then these here on the left-hand side are all of the filters that you can use to specify your list of prospects. So you'll notice you've got the company headcount, current company, etc., job title, function. And what a lot of people don't realize is that not only can you specifically include things in your search result, you can specifically exclude results from your search result as well. Now I'm just going to go to a saved search to illustrate this because it's going to be a bit quicker. So let's go here to here's one I prepared earlier, demo search. So here I have got, for example, I have used the Boolean search terms and an or here. So I'm looking for a web and designer or developer. That's what I'm looking for here. And I'm looking specifically for second degree connections based here in the Netherlands. I'm looking within these industries, and I've chosen to specifically exclude unpaid training and entry level individuals in this result. Now, I could also, for example, in some of these, I could specifically include or extra. So maybe I want to exclude anybody who works in telecoms. Make use of all of these functions because, yeah, it really does help to improve the quality of your search result. And the net result of your chosen LinkedIn outreach is going to be based upon how much effort you've put into this search result. I mentioned earlier about excluding people as well that you've already engaged with or contacted. If I scroll down here on the left-hand side, we can go down to here to where it says people you interacted with. We go here, right, we can, here, for example, we can exclude anybody I've previously messaged, and maybe I want to exclude anybody I've previously viewed as well. Then I know I've got a fresh set of prospects here that, you know, it's all new prospects, people I've not spent any time reaching out to before here. And there we are, I've got quite a good result here. It's 685 people. And if we wait for a second, what we'll see in a minute is the Dux-Soup icon in the top right-hand corner. When it's picked up the data that it requires, it's going to turn green. And at that point, I know that the robot has identified what's on, there we go, it's done it there. It's identified what's on the screen as a list of data that it can process. And now I can get Dux-Soup to carry out my chosen activity. Let's have a look and see if we've got anybody on here. Yeah, we have. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to show you here then is I'm actually going to jump around a little bit and just show you the InMail activity, just so you can see that from a perspective both pro and turbo users here. So we see these people here on this list here. If we take, for example, the guy at the top of the list here, let's have a look at his profile a second. If we just open his profile, if I wanted to send him an InMail message, if I click the message button here, that would be an InMail. Oh, he's disabled all communications. There we go. So I can't reach out to him. That's sometimes what some people do. So let's try the next guy here. Let's try Sebastian. Maybe Timo was fed up of coming at the top of search results, so he disabled all messaging. You never know. So we say, look at this guy here. If we look at the message button here, we want to send him an InMail. We can see here that would use one of my credits. That would, you know, I could set Dux-Soup up to auto visit the profile and send an InMail, but of course it would burn through my credits quite quickly that way. So what we can do, that InMail workaround we saw, if we scroll down this list here and we find somebody who I think has got an open, let's take this guy here. I think he probably has got an open profile. Let's have a look here. There we go. See, he's got this green icon here. He's got an open profile. So I can send this guy an InMail message without it costing me a credit. If I press the message button here, so there we are, it's free to an open profile. Okay, so how can we get Dux-Soup to automate only targeting those people? Well, there's a few different ways that we'll do it. I could, of course, visit them all manually and do that, type in my message or copy and paste the message. But what we can do with Dux-Soup, remember this is both pro and turbo. We can go to our Dux-Soup options here in the top right-hand corner. And this is where you would want to make sure that you've enabled your where are we? Here, the expert settings here. So you've got all of the options available. If you've got a regular menu available, then you have somewhat more limited options available, but more for simplicity's sake, depending on what you're doing. But if we've got the expert settings enabled here, we can go to our actions here. So these are the actions that will be carried out during an auto visit. So in this case, yep, I want to send out my InMail. There we go. There's my InMail. I've already prepared it. One thing to remember, take your name out. Reason being, because at the bottom of your InMail, there's usually an auto signature. So remember that when you send out an InMail. If you send an InMail to somebody, LinkedIn will normally populate an auto signature. You can change that in your LinkedIn settings, so do double check that. Make sure that you're not going to be duplicating a footer, because it does look automated that way. So here we go. I've got my InMail message here. I've got my subject title, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, right, I'm going to tag the person with a tag during the auto visit, so they're going to get an InMail tag, so I know who I've messaged accordingly there. And then here under the skipping rules, this is where I'm going to get Dux-Soup to do its magic and only target those people that have got their open profiles. I'm going to go here. I'm going to say skip if not an open link member. And just for absolute safety's sake, I'm also going to say skip profiles tagged as InMail. So if they've already got an InMail tag, I'm not going to revisit them. So that's quite good. I'm going to skip them if they're not an open link member. So if we go back to my list now, what I could do here is I could click on my Dux-Soup icon and I could hit the visit button here. Dux-Soup will start at the top of the page and it will skip anybody who's not an open link member, and eventually when it finds somebody who's an open link member, it'll open the profile, add the tag, and send the InMail. And it's as simple as that. And then I can leave Dux-Soup to run through this list of people. It will only open those that accept open link, that accept free InMails, and skip past everyone else. Then of course I can come back to my list later, and as long as I've got these enabled here, I'm going to still only see the people I've not reached out to. So my first pass of my result, my search result here may be to send them all an InMail, or send the people I can send a free InMail to, and then maybe the people who are left, I might then want to take another strategy. So if I was a pro user, remember the pro user and not a turbo user, I would then say, well, maybe now I want to just do the visit and connect, and I'd get Dux-Soup to visit the profiles in turn and connect to them in the sort of the, should we say, the old-fashioned way. If I was a turbo user, maybe then I want to enroll those remaining profiles into a Dux-Soup turbo campaign. And in that case, I can just click on my enroll profiles button. I can select whichever campaign it is, and maybe I'm going to choose my April 2023 webinar campaign there. And then I choose how many people I want to enroll. We'll come on to limits, I suspect, daily limits and activity limits during the questions. So we won't spend too much time on that at the moment. But the next thing I want to talk about is how we build our campaigns and what the new possibilities are with Dux-Soup campaigns. So again, we've got our list of people here. We want to build a campaign that's going to target those people. And I want to show you the new options that are available in the campaign settings. So we'll go down to our Dux dash down here at the bottom right. And once this is loaded up, the menus are all the same. There's no change there with the menus, but you'll see here under the drip campaigns, we've got a few different options. So here, I'm going to go to a campaign that I created earlier. So here, my sample campaign for a webinar. What we've got now is, I've actually got a campaign here that starts, in this case, with an auto visit. And then I've got an InMail, which is going to be carried out 2 days, let's make it straight, 2 days after my previous action's been completed. And then 2 days after that InMail's gone, I'm going to send a connection request. Now, what you'll notice is that some of these blocks here we can move around. Now, as it is at the moment, you can't put an InMail after a connection request. So at the moment, an InMail has to be ahead of a connection request. But we can drag the rest of these around. So we can move them around. We can change the order. We can change the scheduling. We could do, for example, a visit, an InMail, another visit, and then maybe we also want to do, perhaps you want to follow their profile first. We've got a lot more flexibility in the different steps that you can put into your campaign here. You can literally drag and drop the steps. And what you'll notice is that the wording has changed here as well. So previously it was always everything was scheduled after an enrollment or after a connection request had been accepted. What you'll notice here is for an awful lot of these, other than the first follow-up action after a connection request, it's always after previous. So it's only going to queue up the actions one by one. This gives you a lot more flexibility, allows you to warm up profiles by carrying out an auto visit or following them or sending them an InMail before you then engage with them directly. Still 12 steps in a campaign. That might change in the future, but yeah, what we see is that it's not a lot of people aren't using all 12 steps in campaigns, because hopefully you're getting engagement before you've reached that stage, because of course Dux-Soup does also listen out for people who are responding. So that's how the campaigns has changed a little bit there. So that's how you can incorporate now InMails into your campaigns as well. So that hopefully is a useful feature for people going forward. So we've talked about searches, we've talked about the InMail stuff, we talked about campaigns. We didn't talk about lead lists. So if we go back to our search result here, what you can see here, you've always got the possibility here to save people on a list here from a search result. You can save them to a list here. Maybe maybe I'll save them to that one. There we go. I've just saved another 4 into that particular lead list, because we can run Dux-Soup from a lead list as well. If we go to our leads here at the top, hopefully, there we go. So here we go. I've now saved 16 leads into this list. This is a list. Again, I can run my chosen Dux-Soup action from here. The InMail automation does not work from here. That's one thing to point out, that the InMail automation activity and the identification as to who accepts a free InMail only works from a Sales Navigator search result. But this here, I can run my chosen action, whether it's an auto visit or an enrollment or whatever, from here. Again, we just have to wait for the Dux-Soup icon to turn green. There it goes. And now we can run our actions from here exactly as per a search result. So we've got those possibilities there as well. Tagging, we've already mentioned tagging a little bit with InMails, but just to show you as well. So if we take, for example, this person here, let's open their profile in a new tab. So we're opening them in full screen because that always works better. You'll always notice that when a profile is loaded, once Dux-Soup has got the data of that profile, you'll notice the widget will appear on the right-hand side. And the widget is where you can also enroll people into a prospect from there, into a campaign from there, if you've got Dux-Soup Turbo. But you'll also have visibility of the tags here. So if you've tagged them with anything here, so if we just put in, I don't know, 1, 2, 3 as a tag here for this particular individual, there you are. I've just manually added a tag. I could manually remove that tag, but we can also add tags during auto visits. And if we want to see who we've tagged with what, we can always go to our tag tool here. If we just take that example there with 1, 2, 3, what we should see here is I've got quite a few people with that tag. There we go, but there's the guy there that I've just given that tag to. We can run also our chosen Dux-Soup activities from here. Again, in a minute, the Dux-Soup icon will turn green. We can run that action from here. We can also export this data to CSV file. This is the Turbo interface for tags, by the way. With Pro, it's a little bit more limited, the options there. But you can see here we can export this data to a CSV file or indeed manage tags. Just remember, there's one item which I forgot to mention under the campaigns. Let's go back to the campaigns a second. You have a platform preference option here. So we see here this one here, this April 2023 webinar. You can choose which platform you would rather Dux-Soup operate in as a priority. So here you can choose whether you want to execute it in regular LinkedIn, in Sales Nav or Recruiter. And Dux-Soup will choose the most appropriate for the action that you have chosen, and it forces the connection request to be sent in whichever platform you're using, and of course whichever one you've got available. If you've not got a Recruiter account, it can't do it from there. But of course, there are certain actions that are only available on certain platforms. So for example, in endorsements, you can only endorse skills in regular LinkedIn. But that's just an extra option that's available there, that you can set a default platform for Dux-Soup to try and operate and execute its actions in. Talked about campaigns, we talked about tagging, we talked about InMails, we talked about lead lists, we talked about searches, and absolute last of all, we're going to talk about data. With regards to data, you can use Dux-Soup to scan lists. We can create very quick lists of data, very quick lists of information depending on what you've got. We can get Dux-Soup to scan lists, and you can download that data. You can also download your visit data. So when Dux-Soup opens a profile, it will gather data around that profile for you. There's one thing you need to double check there. If we go to our Dux-Soup options and you go to the browser option here, just need to make sure that the record profile data button is ticked there if you're wanting to download that data to a CSV file. If you're using any of the integrations in the API, it automatically gathers that data through the webhook functionality, or it's made available through the API, I should say. So, but if you're wanting to download the data, what we can do is let's just go back here. You can see here, when I go to the download data button here, you can see here I've got 2 sets of data. So I can, for example, download the data around the profiles that I've visited in the past, or indeed the data that I've scanned in the past. And just to show you how that looks, the visit data here, let's just download that very quickly. Visit data is extensive because Dux-Soup is opening the profile and gathering all of the data that you see there. Now this is quite a lot of old data here because I've been running this one for a while, but you can see here you get the date stamp as to when the visit carried out, you get the various URLs, you get whether they're a first, second or third degree connection, you get all sorts of other data there available. You get to see email addresses if they're visible, they're not always visible, but you get to see all sorts of other bits and pieces there as well, including skills, previous education, previous employment if you want as well. So that's when you download your visit data. If you download your scan data, if you scan, for example, from, let's go back to where were we? Here, our search result here. So this is our search result in Sales Navigator. We have to wait for the icon to turn green again now, which will happen any second. Always takes a little bit longer when you're watching it because it's under pressure. Here we go. Any second now. I should have left this tab open, shouldn't I? So I didn't have to wait for it. There we go. So we have here then this, we now have the option to scan profiles. And if you scan profiles, remember Dux-Soup's going to create one line of data for each person on the search result or on the list that you have there. You get the most data if you scan a search result in Sales Navigator. And just to show you how that looks, if we look to the scan data that I've got here, I'm not sure how far back this goes. So we can see here, for example, these here were scanned in Sales Navigator back in February. But here we get to see the URL of the profile URL, the Sales Navigator URL, and indeed the public URL. The public profile URL here is actually a link to the regular LinkedIn URL. It's a shortcut to there. And you can see here that we can see first name, middle name, last name, job title, industry, company, and their location. So you get quite a lot of information if you scan from a Sales Navigator result. You get less if you scan other results, other lists in LinkedIn. So there's different ways to gather data. There's different data that you can download. And yeah, if you're then creating your own custom CSV files, of course, you can do that very quickly if you're able to gather data from your search results. And in case you're not familiar with that, yeah, you can always upload your own custom lists via the revisit data button there. The power of Sales Navigator is really in the search result, the search criteria here, and the fact that it allows you to do so much more on the LinkedIn platform if you've got a paid account. Well, one thing I didn't mention was groups. Yeah, so you can, let's just clear this lot very quickly. Clear all, there we go. So yeah, traditionally with LinkedIn, you can only see a population of a group if you're a member of it, if you're in regular LinkedIn. If you've got Sales Navigator, let's just go in here, I don't know, let's go for advertising copywriting. I'm not a member of this group, but because I have Sales Navigator, I can see that there's 2,000 people as a member of this group. So I can actually use this here, the groups function here, the group search function here, to see who's in that population without me having to be a member of that group. And that's a great way to find out what people are interested in, what people are engaged in. So that's a really powerful way to find people with certain interests. So don't forget that one as well. All right, let's head back to here, our slideshow. So the checklist, understanding the benefits of Sales Navigator. We covered that. We covered that. It is an investment, Sales Navigator, and if you make the investment, it's important that you make use of that investment. I understand it's not necessarily the cheapest, but you know, there are benefits to having it. If you're going to get it, make sure you make use of the cross-search criteria. Use the InMail functionality, whether that's your credits or the possibility of using the free credits that you can harness the power of as well. With Turbo, make sure, you know, if you want to include InMails in your campaigns, you can. Use the Dux-Soup tags to label people. So then you've got the traceability as to how you found people, and be aware of what data you can and can't gather and what you can do with that going forward. We've got loads of other information around all of this on our website, on our blog posts and previous webinars. Some of these subjects we've covered in more detail in individual webinars, but hopefully there's a little bit of something here for everybody to be able to take away and make use of. Before we get to the questions, I need to mention that in 2 weeks' time, we have a guest speaker. So Michael, I've spoken to Michael several times over the last few years, Michael Simpson, based in the UK, really engaging guy. He's going to be talking about long-term LinkedIn nurture strategies, how that's working for him. He's been a long-time Dux-Soup Turbo user, using Dux-Soup to nurture his first degree connections, an extensive network, and really uses the power of Dux-Soup to reach out and make sure that when he's sending out updated information, he's making sure that his network is fully engaged and aware of that. So I think it'll be a really interesting session. It'd be nice to have Michael on as a guest in a couple of weeks' time. And I guess we ought to get to the questions now, Adam, if you're still there. No, we don't hear you at the moment, Adam. Hopefully in a second we will be able to. I guess the other thing I can do is see if we can have a look and see if there's any questions there. Let me see if we can expand that out and have a look. Still can't hear you, Adam. I don't know if you're still there. Let's have a look and see what questions we have. If I enroll a profile into a campaign, can I take it out of that campaign? From Fabiana. What you can do is you can always delete any queued activity that's in your queued activity. So if you're let me just show you how that looks. So when you put somebody into a campaign, you can't unenroll them, but you can, under your queued activity, you can just go in and you can find the person you put into the campaign, and you can delete any actions that are there, and effectively nothing would then get executed against that particular activity. Is there a way to have Dux-Soup send InMails to only those profiles whose email addresses it can't find? You would need to create a custom list that way. You'd need to download the data and see which visits have been carried out, and then basically create a new list of find the Sales Navigator URL for that, and then be able to run your automated actions against that custom list of people for whom there is no email address. So there'd be a little bit of manual work in there. You could automate that through Zapier, I guess. How many webinars would you estimate it takes to learn LinkedIn lead generation? I've just done a training course with an individual, and we basically did 4 hours of training to get them up to speed, from basically going from very little information around lead generation and sort of building up an entire sort of portfolio of how to use Dux-Soup, how to harness the power of LinkedIn, and then how to build campaigns and even integrate with other systems as well there. What limits should we know about without getting blocked or banned from LinkedIn? Right, okay, so what we'll do is we will go here and we will go to our home page. We'll go to our blog posts, and what we have here, and what I'm going to do is this particular one here. This is one of the articles that you should look at. This is how to keep your account safe on LinkedIn. And what I can do is, I think if I put that into the chat box, then that should be available to the entire audience. We also have, to complement that, if I go to the support pages, and if I type in here, I think it's where is it? Recommended daily limits. This is the other one as well. We show you that one as well. I'll stick that link into the chat as well, so hopefully everyone can see that there. Okay, there's a lot of questions coming in now, and yeah, unfortunately I can't hear Adam at the moment, but there we go. I do not quite understand the difference between enrolling, visiting, scanning profiles. So, okay, Laura, enrolling is enrolling people into a campaign, queuing up actions to be carried out in the future. So a campaign looks like this. So this here is an example of a campaign. So if I enroll somebody into this campaign, the first thing it'll do is queue up the visit. When that's done, it'll then carry out that. And that will all happen in the background of your browser. And that will happen over a period of time. You don't need to do anything else other than enroll them. If you're wanting to visit a profiles, you go here and you ask Dux-Soup to auto visit profiles. Dux-Soup will then on this screen open each profile in turn. You'll see it open in the bottom right hand corner and carry out your chosen action. Scanning is similar. You go here, you press the scan button. Dux-Soup doesn't actually open a profile. It literally creates one line of data per entry in this list. So hopefully that explains that one for you. Let's have a look. In a campaign, if someone accepts my connection request mid-campaign, can you confirm that Dux-Soup recognizes and removes them for future campaigns? So someone, yeah, so someone can only accept your connection request after that connection request step. So this is from Steve. So if we go to our campaign here, so I've got a visit and then a connection request, then nothing will happen until they accept. Once they accept, you see here then, one day after connecting, they're going to get this message. If they then answer me, they send me a message, the response detection system with Dux-Soup then stops anything else from happening. You can see all of that here under your funnel flow. If we just take some data here, here we go. So here I can see how many people I've enrolled, invited, etc. These people here are the people who've responded to me. These are the people who've replied to me. Here we can then see what they've replied with, and then it's up to us what action we take from here on. If we want them to continue to receive the campaign messages, we can hit reflow, we can qualify them in, qualify them out, or indeed go to the LinkedIn icon and message them directly. We have been looking to utilize Dux-Soup and HubSpot integration, looked everywhere, but wondered if it was possible to log any InMail replies, etc., automatically to their contact in HubSpot. The HubSpot integration does pick up the responses, so it should, InMail responses should come into HubSpot. If that is a problem, Lee, then if you could reach out to our support team, yeah, we'll go from there. Okay, I've got a question from Adam here. Can I run multiple campaigns at the same time? Yes, you can. You can have as many campaigns defined as you like. So you see here these campaigns, the drip campaigns here. You can have as many of them running as you like. Just remember your daily limits there. We'll remember that. How do I set up campaigns starting without invitation request, but rather using my existing network in LinkedIn? Awesome one. Okay, so that would be a first degree campaign outreach. Every campaign you create, if I create a new campaign here, we'll just call it a test. You see here by default, it always contains a connection request message. What I can do here is put in a follow-up message here. If I now enroll a first degree prospect into this campaign, they will automatically just get the follow-up message because I can't send them a connection request message. I've actually got an example here. Let's just go back here. There we are, first degree campaign. I've labeled it with a first degree campaign because I'm only ever going to enroll first degree prospects in it, and that's my campaign. You can't send a first degree connection request message. So you just create a campaign without that text in there, and yeah, that's how that would get executed. Just queues up each step after the previous one has been executed. Okay, we had that one. When I run a drip campaign with InMails and activate the open profile setting, is that working for campaigns as well? Unfortunately not, because it's only from the search result that we can enable that particular option. Maybe that's something we'll be able to get to in the future, where if you maybe only send an InMail if it's an open profile, but that's the priority for the developer was to get the InMail option available there, and it is, so that's good. But yeah, maybe that's a step further down the line. And if you're interested, if anybody's interested in that, actually, we can always also share this one here. This is our feature request page, where you can go and suggest and add and upvote feature requests. I've just stuck that into the chat box for everybody to be able to see. So you can add your comments. There's a few things we now need to tick off the list now that we've updated the campaign stuff there. So that's good. What have we got here? I've set a drip campaign and enrolled a list of prospects, but I see a lot of queued activity from past days, like messages that should be sent, but is still queued activity. What is the reason for that situation? That could be for a number of reasons. It depends on your throttling levels. So it depends on how many invites it's sending out per day. And you can always check that. You can go to your Dux-Soup options here, and you go to your throttling settings. And here under the daily limits, this is where, see how many connection requests, etc. Dux-Soup is going to process. Now remember, every connection request and every direct message, Dux-Soup has to open a profile. So make sure, especially if you're running Sales Navigator, you are allowing Dux-Soup to open lots of profiles every day, because it's going to take lots of visits to execute all of your actions. If you go in and enroll, for example, 1,000 people and you're running it at 40 a day, it's going to take quite a while to send out all of those invites. So that way, yeah, have a look at these daily limits, and also double check to make sure you've not accidentally turned the campaign off here. If you turn your campaign off or on, always make sure that if you've done one of those, you always make sure you press the save button as well. So do have a check of that as well. Can I add an attachment to my sequence? Unfortunately not, but you will see that that is one of the user suggestions here. You want to be able to include attachments. That's understandable. Hopefully that will be something that we'll see in the future going forward. But yeah, at the moment we can't put attachments in there. URLs work. You can put a URL in there and it will render correctly in your message. Let's have a look back here. We've been looking at that was the InMail one. Yeah, that's that one. Is there a way to have Dux-Soup send InMails? No, we've already done that one. Now I know there's been quite a lot of other questions coming in there. So yeah, if we've not got round to it, then apologize. Oh, let's have a look. What would you see one from Michael here? What can be considered a good risk conversion rate from enrolled to responded? Okay, just to show you an example here, because yeah, this is just something that I was doing to test here. If we take this example here, let's look at this growth hacking test campaign that I was carrying out, and this one's a pretty good one. I think this is always a pretty good benchmark. If you can achieve this, then you're doing really, really well. So you can see here how many people I've enrolled and how many are getting to accepted level. Now I'm not doing anything other than just inviting. I've not got a series of messages going out, but I can see here from an acceptance point of view, I'm hitting over 40% of people have accepted. So I think that's a really good level. If you can get over 25%, that's good. Less than 15% you're targeting or your messaging is not good. So yeah, just yeah, think about those sorts of numbers there. How do I know a campaign is over? You'll see nothing else in your queued activity. So here in the queued activity, if nothing's being queued up against a campaign, then yeah, your campaign is empty. Do messages and answers get automatically integrated with HubSpot's calls? Yeah, you should. As long as you've got your CRM connection enabled here. Hopefully that'll load up in a second. As long as you've got your CRM connection enabled correctly there, then you should see the conversations appearing then in HubSpot accordingly. I'm just conscious of time here. I've gone on for quite a long time here, and unfortunately Adam's not been able to rejoin us with maybe some audio issues there, but that's fine. Hopefully we've been able to answer most of your questions. As I say, if there's questions that I've not got round to there, then please do reach out to info@dux-soup.com, and we can tie up any loose ends that people have there. It just leaves me to say, if you do need extra help, somebody was asking about how long would it take to get up to speed. You can book sessions with us. You can book paid sessions with us where we can advise you and guide you through. We've got some quite good training material from all our webinars and bits and pieces, some documentation to help you as well. Huge number of blogs as well, which you can go and have a look at on our website, which I put a couple of links to into the chat there. I've just seen one more question. Where to get into option screen without turbo? What you should be able to do, if you click on the Dux-Soup icon, you go to the options in the top right hand corner. That's the Dux-Soup options there from the extension. I assume that that's what you mean by the options there. If you've not got turbo, you see down in the bottom right hand corner, you'll see a link there, which I think is might just say upgraded. That takes you to the Dux dash here, which gives you some of the options there, and of course gives you the options to the Dux store as well. But yeah, sorry, got digressed there a little bit distracted by our last question. Sorry, yeah, if you want to book support, help, etc., then yeah, you can book those through the Booster and Tech Call links, which are available via our support pages as well. It just leaves me to say thank you ever so much for joining us, as always, and apologies for the slight technical issue there with Adam disappearing, but hopefully we've been able to answer as many questions as possible and you found this session useful. 2 weeks' time, we'll be speaking to Michael. I'll also be on the call as well, so in case there are any further questions coming in, then I look forward to speaking to you then. Thank you, everybody, and goodbye.